Hey you guys, welcome back, and in today's video we are going to be talking about communism. We talked about capitalism and socialism in my last two videos, and this is the final video of that series where we're talking about the much, I think, contested and controversial system known as communism. So when you look up the definition of communism, this is what you get. A political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. Now, this system doesn't sound all too bad. Working and getting what you want and need in return actually sounds really, really good. In fact, we work here in America and get less in return than what we are worth. Our labor is cheapened so that CEOs can get the most money out of us. So getting back what you need sounds amazing. Sadly, communism has never actually fully been implemented in any country. Yes, countries like China have a communist party, but in fact, they run on a socialist and capitalist system like many other countries do. And here in America, we run on a capitalist system with some socialism sprinkled in there as well. Almost all countries run on that hybrid system. No country has ever been fully communist. Have they had communist parties or thought leaders or people who are trying to push them towards that? Yes, but actually has never fully happened. So the big issue with communism is it consolidates power in the government, meaning that the government is making sure that everything is being provided for its citizens, right? We would all be working for whatever is needed. Which means the entire economy is planned, all these other things are planned, which planning is actually a good thing in my book. I think we should do more planned economy stuff and not just let the free reign of the market destroy people's lives. But this planning and this centralized control can lead to a consolidation of power. And across all the systems, capitalism and socialism alike, leaders and politicians and corporations vie for power over and over again, taking too much and taking freedoms away from the people. And communism is no different. Sadly, no country has been just enough for communism to work. Corrupt leaders power grab and end up hurting their citizens, instead of using the planned economies of socialism and communism to better the lives of their people. Sometimes they use them to make machines of war and other things that really didn't benefit the society as much and more just benefited their military or bolstering the strength of the country. So I gave the example of China having a communist party, and they are the closest thing in name only to a communist country here in our current world. Now, they do have a socialist capitalist hybrid system, but their government has the ability to direct business or regulate their businesses with much more authority than here in America. Meaning, in China, when a high-speed rail needs to be built, the government can tell their corporations, hey, we're building that right now. There's not as much bureaucracy or anyone getting in the way of it. The government can kind of just be like, hey, we're doing it and it's done. Which this is great when it's used for public benefit. When this is not used for public benefit, it again puts way too much power in the hands of the government. China is also seeing its leader, Xi Jinping, take on a third term. He's been president for over a decade, and it doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. Now, I mentioned that America also runs on a socialist capitalist system. Now, definitely here in America, we lean much more towards capitalism and less on the socialism part. And that's due to a lot of Milton Friedman's teachings in the School of Chicago and economics that literally just messed up how our nation worked. People forget that back in the 50s and the 60s, FDR, he had instituted 79% tax on the rich, and sometimes up to 90%. And during that period of time, the middle class was actually catching up with the richest Americans. 68% of Americans were middle class back in the day. Now, granted, back in the day we had glaring issues with racism and many other things that were horrible, and some of those issues are still being carried out today. In Florida, we're seeing a complete reversal of many things, which is really sad to see. But people forget, in America, we actually had many more socialist ideologies and much higher tax rates on the wealthiest Americans that would actually fund social programs and help people out, and actually made our nation stronger, and made a stronger middle class, and made a stronger just, nation in general, and made a happier nation of people who felt like they could get forward in life. But now we've really leaned into neoliberal capitalism and letting the markets control everything, but we still do have some socialist influences from past presidencies and bills and things, and obviously our politicians here in America try to get rid of those, and some try to push them back in. It's a back and forth. But still, here in America, we have a more capitalist system than China. Now, we can actually look at countries that balance these systems really well. So, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland run on a socialist capitalist system, but they use their money and their taxes to benefit the lives of their people. And I've mentioned this in almost all the last videos we've talked about with these economic and government systems, is Sweden, Norway, and Denmark and Germany as well. They really put their money back towards the people. They fund, daycares. They fund having the ability to, have a month off of vacation or even more. They have paid maternity leave for like 6 to 9 months, depending on which country you're in. That's amazing. That's what our tax dollars should be doing for everybody. That's what our tax dollars should be doing for everybody. And back in the 60s and 50s, our tax dollars were doing a lot more for everyone else because our taxes were way higher on the rich, and they were way betterly used in the benefit of the American people. So communism has the right intentions. In fact, I think our societies and our communities would run better if we ran on a more communist or socialist system, because it means we would take care of each other. We would only be making what we need, not making things in excess and having all this blatant waste of consumerism. I think society might be more minimalist, but I think our quality of life would be better because we'd actually all have homes that we could afford. We would have better life, better transport, better things, and a way to connect with our neighbors and the people around us. So communism, socialism, it has great intentions, but it's had a very hard time being executed correctly on a large scale for like a country the size of the USSR or Russia or America. Again, we've seen smaller examples of where more socialist-leaning governments work, like in Iceland, Denmark, and Norway. But the issue is, these good intentions are often wrought by corrupt politicians. And it's the same here in America. While our government isn't as centralized in its power, we have state government and federal government, still there are very corrupt and bad people trying to push laws and ideologies that are more authoritarian or more fascist, that are more capitalist or more socialist. All of them are trying to vie for power, and some of them are doing it wrongly, and they're using corruption and gerrymandering and, bribery and the paying off of politicians. Here in America, corporations can pay off politicians legally through lobbying. So the issue with all of these systems that I have seen, and I've said this in every video we've made on the subject, is the people in power continually abuse their power, and the systems we have in place to keep them honest and held accountable aren't working. And it's our job as citizens to hold our politicians accountable, to hold a system accountable, because it's not working for the majority of people. See, I think the success of nations shouldn't be based on GDP, gross domestic product, or gross productivity of a nation. It should be based on the happiness of its civilians. It should be based on the knowledge of its civilians, the community, and really the safety and the happiness of its people. Because this whole issue with economics is there's infinite demand and limited resources. And a capitalist system is very much like, well, we have to have, there's infinite want. The earth, and I've said this again before, will provide a lot of things renewably to us. But if we come into the system of, we have infinite needs, we don't. Humans, yes, we want things, we want to build things, but many things we can regrow, we can give back to the earth, we can do sustainably. And our current capitalist system with no regulations will destroy our planet. It will destroy our species because of greed. And the same could go for communism, right? A bad communist government could tell its entire state just to build military tanks, and it could suck up all the world's resources just building tanks, and that'd be a waste of resources. The issue, again, is people in power are corrupt, and they continually mess up how these systems should work in benefiting the people. Also, America has a reputation of interfering in any country that tries to go more socialist or communist by throwing a coup or funding a dictatorship. We saw this in Chile and in Cuba, where America tried to kill Fidel Castro over 630 times, and where America funded Pinochet to overthrow President Allende in Chile. That is not a great thing. It's hard for other systems to get a chance to work when the biggest country on the planet, the strongest country on the planet, is, bullying you into not going into that system. America, if you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender or have seen Star Wars, is the Fire Nation. America is the empire. America has a lot of control on how the world works, and that's why I think it's so important that here in the US, we start to push forward a change of how we treat people and how we accept different economic theories and ideas, because we need to benefit the citizens, not just the 1% and not just these massive multi-billion and trillion-dollar corporations. So communism, it centralizes power too much. Capitalism, it also allows the centralization of power if the systems are not regulated. And we've seen this here in America. 10 or 12 companies literally own entire industries, and then they lobby politicians. So really, America with unregulated capitalism is corrupt. It does not work. It only benefits a small handful of people, much like many of the older systems like feudalism and other systems where, hey, everyone else is doing the work, but a small percentage of people are reaping the benefits. This is the thing. All labor is skilled labor. If you're working in a coffee shop, if you're selling real estate, if you are a clerk at a grocery store, or if you are a doctor, all labor is skilled labor, and it should mean that you get paid well, that you get paid a living wage, and that you can live a good life, whether you're the doctor, the school teacher, the real estate agent, or the server, or the bartender, or the barista. That's how it should be. But right here in society, right now, it's only the CEOs. It's only the top producing, people, or the people who came up with an idea and have people working under them that get to benefit off the labor of their workers. And they don't pay their workers a fair wage, but they get to make billions and millions of dollars. It's a sad system, and we can make it better. The people who come up with these ideas and make these companies, yes, maybe they deserve a little bit bigger piece of the pie, but they should also be paying their workers a livable wage, and our government should also be providing cheaper housing and making things way better. And that's going to be a next video coming up, is I'm going to talk about all the regulations around affordable housing and the entire crisis here in America with affordable housing. It's insane, and I want to make a video on that again. Now, socialism obviously is the system I lean towards the most. I think it seems to be a better balance between capitalism and communism, because in socialism there's still some free markets, but there is also a planned economy. I do think the idea that of capitalism's, free markets to an extent, the idea of having creativity and being able to build the business of your dreams is awesome, and to build the life of your dreams from that. That's great. You should be able to do that as long as you're not destroying the planet while you're doing it, or wiping out an entire industry of people and displacing jobs, or displacing entire communities because your corporations are, just destroying neighborhoods or destroying infrastructure for the sake of profit, and the government told you could do so. And that's the issue here in America, is it's so unregulated that everyone is getting screwed over. That's not, the people who own the company. The issue in America is capitalism is too unregulated. The issue in China is the power is consolidated with Xi Jinping, and he can do really bad things to his people if he wants to, or to people he doesn't like. And that's scary. It's not a cool thing to see. And I think socialism does fit a little better. Like I said, it's just a little more of a mix between both of the systems, and it seems to have some good ideas. But what we really need is a new system altogether. And by coming together as a community and building a new system, we can change the world. Our governments and the world and media definitely tries to divide us. instead of unite us, because they know that if the working class is united, if the citizens are united, they can change how government works. It was the civil rights movement that changed a lot of things. Now, those things would not have changed if people did not come together and said, hey, this is wrong. We must change the system. And we have that power. It is up to us to build a better world and to vote the right people in and to run for office ourselves and build companies and businesses that are earth-friendly, that benefit the communities, that pay people fairly. It is our job, is the job of our generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and millennials and Gen X, and hey, even some boomers as well, to change things for the better. We have a chance to, and we can. So at the end of these videos, I like to talk about what I would do when I'm in a position of power in the world I would like to create, because I think it's important to dream, I think it's important to talk these ideas out, and if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments below. So first off, if I was in power, I would make healthcare, education, and housing a human right. Basic housing, you know, again, not the Ritz-Carlton, you're not living in a penthouse, but it's a good housing unit, is a basic human right. It is insured. That means, you know, no kids out of foster care are gonna end up on the street. If you need help, you at least have a home to go to. This basic housing would be provided. And then if you wanna, you know, upgrade your life, you can get some nicer housing and it would be affordable. You could build your own dream house and it would be affordable. And as long as it's, you know, ethically sourced and not destroying our planet, you know, you could still have a really nice, you know, 4,000 square foot home that has limestone or wood, you know, those things you see on house tours with real estate. You still be able to have that. I believe that you should be able to have that. But I also believe housing is a human right, and we need to at least have a basic housing system so that everyone can have a starting place and doesn't have to go to the street, doesn't have to be homeless. And then of course, education, make it free. Knowledge is power. It makes us better. It makes us more empathetic. Let's do it. And of course, healthcare. I don't think you should have to worry about spending $1 million if your leg has to get amputated or if you need a heart surgery. Healthcare should be a human right as well. Also, I would institute a huge amount of regulation on businesses to ensure that they are not destroying the planet, to ensure that they are, you know, treating their workers with respect and paying them fairly. I would deregulate a lot of the issues that we have right now with affordable housing. Almost 40% of the cost of affordable housing is caught up in regulation. So we need to deregulate a lot of things that are making that housing expensive, and obviously regulate the things that would be hurting the planet. So keeping green regulations and all of that to make sure we're doing good, but deregulating all the other stuff that's making housing way too expensive. We would rewrite the Constitution to protect reproductive rights, to end hate speech, and to make the world safer for everyone else. I would also remake the prison system to be all about rehabilitation instead of making labor cheaper or punishment. I think a lot of people make mistakes and they deserve second chances. The only people I would think wouldn't deserve a second chance would be rapists and murderers and serial killers, where it is proven that they were doing it out of absolute hate and it was 100% proven that they were guilty of that crime. They would spend their life in prison, but other people who maybe did drug dealing and all these other crimes that aren't as bad, I want to, you know, rehabilitate a lot of people. I would also decriminalize all drugs so that the government could regulate them way better, and just making that stuff not illegal would, I think, make the world a better place. Also, making cities more walkable, better public transport, safer cities, you know, instituting community policing instead of paying a huge government entity. A lot of these things can change, and these are just some ideas. I have ideas for private security forces that are automated, that could help protect neighborhoods and not put people's lives at risk, that only look out for violent crimes and burglary and not are really looking out for anything to do with drugs or anything, because again, I would decriminalize that. I don't think we need to be worrying about those things. And also, when it comes to our House of Representatives and people being represented in the United States, we would expand it. Our world is diverse, our planet is diverse, the United States is diverse, and we need a House of Representatives. We need representatives that represent every part of American culture, every part of the US of A. We need more people to be represented. And right now, our House of Representatives does not look like the entirety of the US. It's getting better and better, but we need more people that actually represent the people here in America. which is a slew of different cultures from all around the world. And that's what makes us so beautiful and so strong, is our diversity. And we need a representative government that looks like that. Also, I would institute a system where the military budget cannot exceed the budget of social programs. So if the military budget has to be $1 trillion, well, so is the budget for social programs, right? So a stronger military means that we would have to have a bigger social program budget. Now, it wouldn't go the other way around, like the social budget can always outpace the military budget, but if the military budget is going to be $1 trillion like it is now, well, so would all the money having to go towards making the lives of citizens better. Because if we're going to make sure we have a huge army and have all these weapons and all this technology and $30 billion planes, well, everyone should be able to go to school for free. Everyone should have free healthcare, and all of those things should be provided. So we would institute a balancing system to make sure that the military can't get too strong without also the citizens getting way more rights and way more things. The system I want to see, and obviously we have AI around the corner, it's going insane right now. We don't even know what the future is going to look like completely, and we can guess, but so many things are happening. I want a world where artists can live a life without having to go destitute, where if you just want to flip burgers or make coffee and that's your dream, do it. I want that to be your life. You should have the right to do that. I do believe that in a world where more of our needs are met, where we are not fighting to survive, that life expectancy would go up, crime would go down, and we would live in a better world. I know that not all of my ideas are perfect, but I know together we can build the best system in the world. We can build a better system that helps us all. We can build a system that is without hate, without discrimination, one that is built to benefit all people from every walk of life, every religion, every race. We must make the world a better place for everybody, and it is our duty to, especially as the next generation. So, thank you so much for watching. Please tell me your ideas below. I loved doing this series on all the economic systems. I cannot wait to see you next time. This is Gabriel, signing off.